Do you have it?
Yeah, Nikki!
I wear a disguise every day and no one knows. I'm legally blind. When I was 7 years old, I couldn't see the board clearly from my front row seat in class. The teachers would keep calling on me to read and answer questions on the board, but I just stuck my head down, too embarrassed to say anything. Eventually, she figured out that something was probably going on with my vision, so she called my parents and recommended that I go see an eye doctor. Now, going to this initial eye doctor appointment, my parents and I assumed I probably just need glasses. However, it was quickly discovered that my vision was far past the point of just getting glasses, and that I'd actually entered the realm of being visually impaired. This led to the next 2 years of my life consisting of me going from eye doctor to eye doctor as each one tried to find out why I had lost so much vision. Finally, in the 4th grade, I was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease, a severe juvenile macular degenerative condition, which basically, in non-medical terms, means I've been losing my vision since I was 7 years old and will continue to do so for the rest of my life. This was a really difficult transition for me. It felt like overnight I'd gone from being this normal, carefree 7-year-old with 20/20 vision to a 7-year-old with 2200 vision that was struggling to do the smallest things. Physically, I never really understood how much of a role my vision played in every single aspect of my life until I no longer had it. In class, I suddenly had to learn how to find new ways to understand concepts and materials without being able to see the notes on any of the classroom boards or see any classroom presentations. Let's just say zoning out during class no longer became an option. With regards to navigation, I had to learn how to get around independently without being able to see street signs, street lights, or building names. And I found that if I set aside an extra 30 minutes in which there's a 99% chance I will be lost finding my way to a new building, then I'll get there on time, usually. To recognize people, because I'm unable to see faces, I've learned to heavily rely on my other senses. For example, to recognize my father, I listen for the sound of jingling keys, because he's a property manager and carries all of his keys on the side of his belt. So I know if I hear someone walking with the sound of jingling keys, I better be on my best behavior because my dad's coming. Emotionally, this transition was more challenging because it wasn't that I just lost my vision. It was that I lost this entire potential life of what I could have done if I'd had 20/20 vision. And on top of that, I was given all these new can'ts. You can't drive. You can't be a surgeon. You can't just walk into a bookstore, buy a book, and start reading it. And this was really hard for me to come to terms to. But luckily, with the help of my extremely supportive parents who have done so much for me, and my amazing twin sister who has the same diagnosis, I found that there's so many more possibilities in my life than impossibilities, and that there's a positive side to any single situation. For instance, why do I need to drive when there's Uber? Why would I want to be a surgeon when they're in school for their entire lives? And why read paper books when ebooks are the new thing? Going back to what I said in the beginning about how I wear a disguise every day and no one knows. Because I have an invisible disability, especially a visual impairment that doesn't require a white cane or guide dog, I'm given this involuntary disguise of appearing to be abled. This is a huge privilege as well as a burden. It's a privilege because I'm treated just as equally as any other abled person in this room, which I know is not the case for millions of people with different disabilities in the world. However, it's also been a heavy burden that has led to more awkward and uncomfortable situations than I can keep track of. At least once a day, I'll be talking to someone who's constantly looking over their shoulders, wondering, who is this crazy girl talking to? Because they don't know I'm visually impaired and can't hold eye contact. Too many times, I have accidentally walked into the men's bathroom and gotten the most interesting looks. But then there's other times where I'll be sitting in the library working on my laptop, which is super zoomed in so I can see what I'm doing. And people will come up behind me and ask if I'm a grandma or if I'm 80. Which, don't get me wrong, I take that as a compliment because I love grandmas and I think they're awesome. But still, it doesn't feel that great. And the worst times are when I tell someone I'm visually impaired and they respond with, I don't believe you. People have this idea of what a blind person looks like. And it's not a freshman BBA student who's currently telling her story at the Ross Diaries. But if I can change someone's mind even just a little bit by sharing my story so that they'll be more accommodating to the next legally blind person they meet, then I know I've done my job. Because even though I wear a disguise every day, I'm done hiding.